Parashat Pekudei, Tavshin Pai Hai, B'siyata D'Shmaya. Now this week we are in the middle of the Shivas Yemei Amiluim. By Moshe Rabbeinu, every day of these 7 days, from Chav Gimel Adar till Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Moshe Rabbeinu every morning he built the Mishkan, and at night he took it apart. At night he took it apart. That was for 7 days, Shivas Yemei Amiluim. And then on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Hashem told him, today you're going to be Tokim as a Mishkan, you're going to build the Mishkan, and it's going to be in order to stay. And we read it in this week's Parsha about building the Mishkan on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Now the first thing, what's the pshat of the Shivas Yemei Amiluim? That Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, build it, take it apart every day. What was the message? What was the limud that it was meant to learn from this? So I think I didn't see it. I didn't look up in Svarim regarding this. Well, it's probably, I'm going to say a Pashat idea. I assume that it says in the Svarim. If not, every Yid could say it. There's a pasuk, Kisheva Yipol Tzadik Vikam. Even a Tzadik could fall 7 times, but he gets up. Falling 7 times means that he fell and he stood up, and he fell again, and he stood up, and he fell again, and he stood up. And you shouldn't get broken, you shouldn't get miyuash. How do you say miyuash in English? Despairing. Give up. You shouldn't give up. You shouldn't be this. You shouldn't get despaired. You should know you have to do what you have to do. Hashem is going to help. Now, actually, every Yid is a Mishkan. So the Al-Shech says, every Yid has a Mishkan. There's a Lashon HaZohar HaKadosh, Tziyure the Mashkene and Tziyure the Barnash are equal. Tziyure means like the blueprint, the layout of the Mishkan and the layout of a person are equal. Every person has in his body, he is a Mishkan. He has a Mizbeach, where he is a Veach Yitzroi. He slaughters the Yetzer Hara. That's considered a carbon. He has a Shilchon. When he eats, Zeh Shilchon Asher Lifnei Hashem, that's considered a Shilchon. He learns Torah, that's the Ahron. He does mitzvahs, that's the Menorah. Ki Neir Mitzvah, the Torah Or. He has in him. The Semurim HaKadoshim speak a lot about this idea. So like by the Mishkan, Moshe Rabbeinu was told by Hashem that he should teach Klal Yisrael, before we build the Mishkan, 7 days, we are building it, taking it apart. It should be a limit for Klal Yisrael, Kisheva Yipol Tzadik Vikam. And that's how by every person, it could also be Kisheva Yipol Tzadik Vikam. Now, on Sunday, the first day of Shivas Yemei Amiluim, Chav Gimel Adar, was the yahrzeit of the Chedishei Hurim, the first Rebbe of Ger. And on Shabbos, Chavtes Adar, Erev Rosh Chodesh Nisan, is the yahrzeit of the Tferes Shloime from Radomsk. They were both nifted the same year. Tov Reish Chuvuv, 6 days apart, they were nifted. It says in the Sefer Meir Einei Agoyla, it's a Sefer on the Chedishei Hurim, that the son-in-law of the Tferes Shloime, they called him Reb Lipman. He said, he quoted his Shver, his father-in-law, that when he got the Yediyah, the news, that the Chedishei Hurim was nifter, he was meramas that probably he's going to be going very soon. Because he says that he was a gewaldige Bal Tefillah, the Tferes Shloime. Except of his godless and Torah and Tzidkes, he was also a tremendous Bal Tefillah, beautiful Bal Tefillah. If I'm not mistaken, they say that he used to make every Shabbos, Bam Tish, he used to make a new Nigen Kol Mekadosh. Shkoyach. He used to make a new Nigen Kol Mekadosh. And when he was asked about it, he said, what should I do? That's my Oynik Shabbos. Oynik Shabbos is to make a new Nigen Kol Mekadosh. He was a gewaldige Bal Tefillah. And he said to his Eidim and to his close people that he has the Kabbalah from his Rebbes, that when the Tzaddik Ador is going to be nifted, probably he's going to be called up to serve as a Chazan. So because the Chedishei Hurim was nifted on Chav Gimel, he said probably I'm going to be called very soon, and he was stuck in nifted a few days later on Chav Tes. Now I want to say a few stories, small stories about the Tferes Shloime. he was also very, Baruch Hashem, he was very, I don't know if he was wealthy or he was very, how do you say it, comfortable, very comfortable. And by a tzaddik, usually people come in with a kvittel, and they also give a pidyon nefesh. They give something for money for the tzaddik. He usually didn't take, unless he knew that the person was able to give, and he also felt that he's giving it b'leiv shalom, with his whole heart. And it said that once a gevir came in with a kvittel, and he gave a nice amount for a pidyon, and he showed it back to him that he could take it back. Afterwards, the gabuim asked him, Rabbi, why didn't you take it from him? He's a big gevir. So he answered them, if you would have seen his face shining when I told him he should take it back, you wouldn't ask why I told him to take it back. If you would have seen how his face was glowing, shining, how he was happy when I was told to take it back, you wouldn't ask why I told him to take it back. Yeah. They say in his name a gewaltige story. Once on a Motzei Shabbos, he came into his shul, and he went around and he was asking everybody, does anyone want a cup of coffee? And the Chassidim were wondering, the Rebbe should come in and ask if someone wants a cup of coffee, he wants to make coffee for the oilam. So everybody stayed quiet. But he was serious, he was asking around. So one chassid said, you know what, maybe I should. So he said, Rebbe, yeah, I want to have a cup of coffee. And right away, the Tver Shlomo went and he made him a cup of coffee and he brought it to him. Afterwards, like the Gabuim, his Mikirovim, his close people, asked him, Rabbi, what was the idea? What was this meant to be? He said, I'm going to tell you. Right before then, on Motzei Shabbos, I saw, it was a gewaltige tzaddik, so he was able to say what he said. I saw how a neshama was brought to the Bezdin Shalman. Now this Yid was born in a very far place, far from Yiddishkeit. His parents didn't know much. He wasn't taught anything. Didn't know of Torah and mitzvahs, not what you have to do, what you're not allowed to do. But he knew that he's a Yid. And he lived his life without knowing anything, just knowing that he's a Yid. Now he came to Shemayim, and they looked through the years of this person. They weren't able to give him Gehenim, because he actually didn't do any Avaida, because he didn't know. It was a real Tinnik Shenish Babeinu Akim. He didn't know about nothing, so he didn't do any Aveiris. On the other hand, no Ganai, they didn't do any mitzvahs too. So what do you do with such a neshama? He was brought to the Bezdin Shalmala. So they looked through his 70, 80 years, good, and they found that once he passed by a Jewish village. And he stopped by and he made himself a coffee. And while he had the coffee ready to drink, a poor person approached him. And the person asked him, could you give me to drink something? And this he said, why not? And they offered him a cup of coffee and they gave it to him. So he had this one mitzvah that he did once. He gave the Yid a coffee. And for that, Bezdin Shalmala Paskin, all right, so he could go into Gan Eden. For sure he didn't get a huge portion in Gan Eden, but he got his chelik in Gan Eden. So as Shlomo said, I saw this, I decided, I don't know what my matzav is, where I'm up to. First, I want to know that I made a coffee for a Yid. So in the worst scenario, I know that I made a coffee for a Yid. So that's why he came into shul and he was asking if someone needs a coffee. The Heilige Tfer Shlomo is a chisa yagen aleinu bal kol Yisrael umein. It said in a Sefer Tfer Shlomo, brings down that on the Pasuk Parashat Tzav, the Pasuk says over the matzis ta'ochel b'mokim kodesh, that you have to eat the matzis of the mincha, should be eaten in a holy place, in the Beis Hamikdash. So he refers to it, to our mitzvahs of achilas matzah. We eat matzah on Pesach night. So he says, the matzis ta'ochel b'mokim kodesh. You should see the matzah should be eaten in a holy place. Make yourself holy. Try to become holy. The holy is possible. Where every little bit that you are, you don't obey the Yetzer Hara, where every little bit that you do another mitzvah, another little bit of limud Torah, chesed, tefillah, serving Hashem, anything that you do makes you more and more kodesh. So when you eat the matzahs on Leila Pesach, you're being mekayim the matzahs ta'achal b'mokim kodesh. You eat it in a holy place. Your mouth is holy because you use your mouth for good things. You don't speak lashon hara, bad things. You use it for learning, for saying good things about someone else. So like this, your whole body, your whole goof, you do mitzvahs amasim tovim, you become a makim kodesh, matzahs tochel b'makim kodesh. Puri chatu Adonai, Eloheinu melech u'olam, shehakol niu b'dvurai.
Amen.
Now I want to say a gewaldige word on this week's parsha. When Moshe Rabbeinu makes a cheshbon mefurat, furat means a detailed cheshbon, exactly where everything went. Kesef, Zohov, Nechoishes, all of the Nidvas HaMishkan, where it went. Now it's interesting. They say in the name of Rameir Shapira that Parashat Kisisa, when Klal Yisrael brought the Zohov to Ahron, and he made the Eigel, no one asked for a detailed Din of the Cheshbon, the Doch. How do you call a Doch in Lashon Kodesh? A report, not a report, a detailed...
Accounting.
Eh?
In accounting.
An accounting, yeah, probably. A detailed report.
Ledger.
An Excel.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one asked for... And over here, Klal Yisrael was asking Moshe Rabbeinu, so he said to Meir Shapira, we see that the Yetzer Hara, when it comes to not a good thing, go ahead. You don't care where the money goes. It comes to Davar Shevdisha, oh, maybe something was... They want to know in detail. That's how they say in the name of Rameir Shapira. But some say, others say different pshat, just the opposite. That's a gewaltige pshat. Klal Yisrael had so much charata after they did the Eigel. Everybody thought to himself, I don't care. Halavai, my money didn't go in to the Eigel. I don't want to have a chelik in it. So why should I ask for a detailed report for a doch? Halavai, it didn't go into the Eigel. And just the people that they made it, they took it for themselves. That's better than it should have been in the Eigel. But when it comes to the Mishkan, every Yid wanted to know that this portion went into the Mishkan, nothing was taken. So they asked Moshe Rabbeinu, tell us exactly where everything went. So I once said, this is what I want to say now is a little joke, and then I'm going to go to what I want to say, gewaltige gematria. Rashi brings down the beginning of the parsha, Eile Pekudei HaMishkan, Mishkan of Eidis. Rashi says, what's the Kfeilas HaLoshon? HaMishkan, Mishkan of Eidis. So Rashi says, it's a remes that the two bottom mikdashos are going to be taken away as a mashkoin. How do you say mashkoin in English? Where you take something as a mashkoin. Where you give a loan.
Collateral.
Again, what?
Collateral.
Collateral? Yeah, you don't have a better word for a mashkoin? Collateral is meine chashibit. Collateral is not a shibud that you put on a neches. Yeah, but mashkin has a strong...
That's something that you would give to someone that you only get back if you get your money back.
Yeah, that's a mashkoin. Collateral. All right, so it says over here that it's a remes to the two bottom mikdashos that they were in the smashkin because of in the same shel Yisrael. So he says like this. What's the remes over here? It should come in a remes to the mashkin. He says, usually when a person buys a present for his friend or a husband comes home with a present for his wife, no one starts looking in detail and saying, let's see how much gold is there in, how many carats, how much does it weigh, how much silver. You just look at it as a present. It was bought, the thought about it, the nidvas alev that's put into it, and that's the matana that I got. And you usually go into detail to know exactly how much is it worth, how much does it weigh, how much did it cost. Well, you want to take a mortgage on it, you want to take out a loan, so then you take a appraiser. And the appraiser goes into every detail, how much it's worth. So the pasuk means to say, if Moshe Rabbeinu has to go into detail and saying exactly how much Zohov and Kesser was in the Mishkan, that's a simmer that we're talking about a mashkanta, about a mortgage. It's going to be in a smashkain, because when you take something as a mashkain, the collateral, you go in exactly how much it's worth. So that's a shtikl remes. Just a joke. Once a person once said that his whole salary that he makes, that he earns, goes away for the mashkanta that he has. So a person asked him, I can't believe everything goes for the mashkanta, for the mortgage. He says, actually, tarta mashma. Mashkanta has two definitions. One is mashkanta, the mortgage. The second one is mashikanta. Ma shekanta, what she bought. What she bought. So everything goes away for the mashkanta. His whole salary goes away for the mashkanta. Or for the mashkanta, or for mashkanta. But we have to remember, if we speak about the Mishkan, that the Mishkan was a kapara and the Chetu Egel, the Noshim, they didn't give part in the Egel, and that's why they have every Rosh Chodesh as a Yom Tov. They, when the Yidden came home and said, we have to take from you the gold in order to make a sale on Elohim, they said, we are not willing to give. And the Yidden gave their own. So the Noshim, you have to be them a chabit. Now, when Moshe Rabbeinu makes the cheshbon, now I'm starting the gematria. When Moshe Rabbeinu makes the cheshbon, telling Klal Yisrael, teaching them, to describing, explaining them, where did the money go? Now, from the kesef, the basic kesef was a machzas a shekel that every Yid gave. Now, how many Yid were by Klal Yisrael? It says in Pasuk, 600,000 and plus 3,550. Now, if everybody gives a machzas a shekel, how many whole shkolim is it? 600,000 is 300,000. Then the 3,550 is 75. Correct? 1,775. Now the pasuk goes and the pasuk explains. Moshe Rabbeinu tells Klal Yisrael, from the 300,000 whole shkolim, I know what we made about it from this, the ma'as adonim, 100 adonim for the keroshim. Why? Because every adon was made out of a kicker kesef. So 100 kicker, why 100 kicker? Because every kicker was 3,000 shkolim. So if a kikar is 3,000 shekel, 100 kikar is 300,000 shekel. So you have all the 300,000 whole shkolim from the 600,000 Yidden of Klal Yisrael. From that was made the Ma'as Adonim. Now Moshe Rabbeinu didn't remember where did he put the silver from the extra 3,550 Yidden, that's, as we spoke, 1,775 whole shkolim. And Klal Yisrael was waiting to hear a detailed report. And Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to remember, and then Hashem made him that he should remind himself. And that's where the pasuk goes on and it says, also, what did he do with that? Vovim lu amidim, for the amudim he made vovim. V'tzipur Yeshayim, he coated the roshim from the amidim, the chishak oisam. He made it nice around. That's what he did with this kesef. And the Meforshmar even masbir, why is the tamim like someone that wants to remind himself, and he's like trying to remind himself, oh, and then he reminds himself, oh, I remember what I did with it, so that's the Vesu Elef. Now, it's interesting that the Zohar HaKodesh in Parashat Pekudei, this week's Parsha, first of all, I think that the biggest Zohar HaKodesh is on this week's Parsha. The most Zohar on a Parsha is on Parashat Pekudei. In this week's Parsha, the Zohar HaKodesh says, Ve'esu elef du rozo the ois aleph. That's the soid of ois aleph. Meaning to say, Ve'es is ois, who elef is aleph, the soid of ois aleph. So the holy Imre Emes from Ger, in his Sefer Imre Emes ala Toide, I think it's in the year of Tofresh Paites, Tar Paites, he brings down over there the Toide that he said by the Tish. He said like this. He explained that the Pshat in Zohar HaKodesh, Roza the Ois Aleph, the Pshat means the soid of the Aleph base, not only Ois Aleph, the whole Aleph base. And so he explains that the Zohar HaKodesh goes on over there and brings down the Pasik, Soid Hashem li'ereyov ivri soid lo hidiyam, that Hashem is Megala, the soidest to his Yereyam, and through the bris, he is being them a dia, whatever they need to know. The Torah is called the bris, ivri soid lo hidiyam. So he explains the Emuna and he says, through the Aleph base, Moshe Rabbeinu reminded himself what he did with this shkolim, because the Aleph base, no shikhe, it's shoylet in the Aleph base. You don't forget the Aleph base. And through the Aleph base, you could get back, if something was forgotten, through the koyach of the Aleph base, you could bring it back to your memory. Now, he doesn't bring down over there the story in the Sefer Imre Emes, but in the Sefer Lekutei Yehuda, that's from an Einikel, a grandchild of the Imre Emes, he says that the Zayde did say the story the long story of the Baal Shem Tov. There's a story that when the Baal Shem Tov wanted to go visit Eretz Yisrael, he wanted to meet the Eirachayim HaKodesh because he said, if they're going to meet, they're going to be able to be Mamshich Mashiach. Because the Baal Shem Tov said, I have the nefesh of Mashiach ben David, and the Eirachayim HaKodesh has the ruach of Mashiach ben David. And if we're going to both meet, we're going to be able to be Mamshich the neshama of Mashiach ben David. And because it wasn't yet the time of the Geula, so it didn't happen. He left Ukraine, the Baal Shem Tov Mezhbish, and he went on to Turkey, Istanbul. He arrived there before Pesach, and he waited when it's going to be the next ship going to Eretz Yisrael. And he was said that the next ship is going to be on Chol HaMoed Pesach. So he was there for the first day's Yom Tov. And there's a known story what happened, the Gewaldige Nes over there, the first night, Lois, and the Flus Gedoyles Levadoi. And then on Chol HaMoed, he settled to leave Istanbul, Turkey, to go to Eretz Yisrael. Now, on the way, they stopped on, how do you say, in Insel? How do you say it? It's surrounded with water, an island, yeah. They stopped on an island, and they were told that they're going to stop for a few hours, so everybody could go down, and what they're going to give a call with the, how do you call it? With the horn. They're going to call with the horn or something, so everybody should come. Now, the Baal Shem Tov went down, and he had with him his Gabe, Reb Tzvi, his Mishamish, and his daughter Udel. That he went with these two, he went to go to Eretz Yisrael. And they had a few hours to go around, they were Fadvaikit, and they didn't hear the call back. Until they arrived, they saw that the ship had already sailed away and had left. And they stayed over there on the island. So they went around on the island, and a group of shoidedim, robbers, how do you call it? Thieves. Pirates. A group of pirates captured them. And the Chadashim, they wanted to kill them. And they were already tied up with ropes. And meanwhile, they went to eat something. And Reb Tzvi, the Meshoretz of the Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh, asks the Rebbe, why are you quiet? Why aren't you Marish Oilemus? You should turn over the world. We should be saved. Baal Shem Tov tells them, I don't know what to do. I feel I'm blocked. Everything I forgot. I don't remember anything. I don't know how to daven even. It was such a tremendous nesoyan, so they took away from him all his madregis, all his asugis, and even basic things, he didn't remember anything. And he asked Reb Tzvi, what's with you? Do you remember something? And Reb Tzvi says, I also don't remember anything, but I do remember the Aleph Bais. So the Baal Shem Tov tells him, so go ahead, teach me. And he starts saying Aleph. And the Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh says after him, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Gimel. Until they finish the Aleph Bais, and then the Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh feels how he's getting back all of his madregis, all of his knowledge that he had, and he started davening to Hashem. The way how he knew to daven, and it didn't take long, and they heard that a horn, how do you say, farfing, what? Blowing, that a ship is arriving. And the ship kapitan, how do you say, the one that runs the ship?
Captain.
The captain, yeah, or the kapitan. The captain came down with a group of soldiers, and right away the pirates flew for their lives. And this captain opened up the ropes. It was actually Eliyahu Yanuvi, and he took the Baal Shem Tov with his Mishamish and his daughter, and he put them on a ship that was on the way back to Ukraine, to Europe. And he was told it's not yet the time to be Mekar of the Geula. And this story happened on the night of Shvi Shel Pesach. And that's why by Hasidim, on Shvi Shel Pesach, we make a separate Yom Tov, a separate Suda. They call it the Suda of the Baal Shem Tov. The Zeiche, the Nes, that the Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh had on this specific day, that he was Nitzl.
What day?
On Shvi Shel Pesach. They went out from Turkey in order to arrive to Yisrael was on Chol HaMoed, and they went down on the island was on Erev Shvi Shel Pesach, and then they didn't make it back to the ship, and on the night of Shvi Shel Pesach, this story happened. They call it, they make it an Ahron Shel Pesach, I think Chabad makes Sidus Mashiach, Sidus Baal Shem Tov. So what do we see from this story also? that through the Aleph base, the Baal Shem Tov HaKudosh got back all of his ideas. So comes the Imre Emes and he says, this is the Pshat in the Zohar HaKodesh. Rozo the Ois Aleph means to say the Soid of Aleph base, that the Aleph base brings out all Soidis. And he says by the Tish, that if you want to make a cheshbon, a gematria, you're going to see, if you take down the whole Aleph base and you count it up, you add that up, and you also add the Oisius Manatzpech. Manatzpech means the Soife Oisius. There's a Chof Soifis, and there's a Mem Soifis, yeah, and a Tzadik. Manatzpech, yeah, those 5 letters have also the Soife Oisius. If you add them up together, you arrive to the amount of 1,775. And we could make the cheshbon very easy. I once wrote it down. Maybe he's going to take... you have it over here. Let's start from Aleph till Tes. It's very easy. From Aleph till Tes is 45. Why? Aleph and base is 3. Gimel, 6. Dalet, 10. High, 15. Vav 21, Zayin 28, Ches 36, Tes 45. So from Aleph till Tes is 45. If that's the case, so from Yud till Tzadik is times 10, it's 450. Like from Aleph, from 1 till 9, if you add it up, it's 45. From 10 till 90 is 450. Correct? So where are we up to? 450 and 45 is 495. Now you make Kuf and the Reish together is 300 with Shein, so we're up to 600, and Tov is 1,000. So we're up to 1,495. That's the Chav Beis Oisius of Aleph Beis. Then if you add the Menatzpech, so Mem and Nun are together 90, a Tzadik, another 90 is 180, Pai Chuf together is another 100, so 280. So 1,495. You add 200 to the 1,695. Another 80 is 1,775. So the Aleph Beis with the Menatzbech is 1,775. And through the Aleph Beis, Moshe Rabbeinu reminded himself what he did in all of this Shkolim. That's the Pshat. That's how the Imre Emes. That's how the Imre Emes is Masbir. The ganze. Nein, bei der macht von Otazoy. That's how the Imre Emes is Masbir. How through the Aleph Beis, Moshe Rabbeinu reminded himself what he did with the 1,775 Shkolim, because the Aleph Beis is also Begematria 1,775. So through the Aleph Beis, that's also this Gematria that reminded Moshe Rabbeinu what he did with it. Now they say that when the Imre Emes said this Torah, he turned after the Torah, his brother Moshe Betzalel was a big chassid of him. He turned around to his brother and he asked him, did you calculate it already? Because I didn't. He said it like from Shamayim, he got this gematria and he didn't even calculate it before. I didn't yet calculate it even, just I was told from Shamayim. Now, truly, I said this word of the Imre Emes a lot of years. And I had 2 things that bothered me a little bit with this word. But it's such a good word that even though something bothers you about this word, you still say it. One day, it was about 15 years ago, Tov Shein Ayin, Ayin Aleph. One day, Hashem gave me an idea. And I have a little bit other pshat in the Gematria. And according to this pshat, the 2 things that bothered me don't bother me anymore. What were the things that bothered me? First, actually, Moshe Rabbeinu knew the amount of money that's missing. He knew you have another 3,550 Yidden, so that's equivalent to 1,775 Shkolim. What he was missing was what he did with this amount of Shkolim. Not the amount was missing from him. The Chesaron idea was what he did. So what does it help you that the Aleph Beis is Begematria 1,775? Not the number was missing from him. The missing from him was what he did with this money. Still, it's not a big kasha, because you could learn pshat that through the Aleph Beis that has the same Gematria, it reminded Moshe Rabbeinu what it did with this amount of money. The second thing that bothered me was how come that you use the oisius manatzpech again for the same amount? Like a mem soifis should be also 40. So that means that we have two oisius telling us the numeral of 40. Usually it doesn't work that way. You don't make aleph and then beis, veis, and you don't make kof and chof, or you don't make shin and sin. Why? Because when you use the aleph beis as numbers, so you have for every number you have another ois. If you have already a chof that's 20, you don't need the chof soifish to also teach you 20. And in that case, how do you use the oisius asoifiyos? You use them for the hemshech gematria. Tov is 400. We go on. Chof soifis is 500. Mem soifis is 600. Nun soifis is 700. Pi soifis is 800. Tzadik soifis is 900. And like by the singles, it goes from 1 till 9, aleph till tes. And by the tenors, it goes from Yud till Tzadik, 10 till 90. So by the hundreds also from Kuf till Tzadik soifis, from 100 till 900. And how come and when Amos quotes and he says, you use the oisius manatzpech, and you use them for the usual gematria of mem, nun, tzadik. Now, it's also not such a big kasha, but if you have another teretz, Hashem heiras eina a gewaltige gematria, that we have to use the chov base. We take the yisoid of the Imre Emes, that ruzu the ois aleph refers to the aleph base, but we explain the aleph base differently. You could write the aleph base b'melioi. Aleph base b'melioi means aleph, you write aleph lamet fai. Beis is beis yitzuf. Gimel yud mem lamet. You write it b'melioi. If you're going to take the 22 chuv base oisis of the aleph base and you're going to write it b'melioi, I'm going to show it over here. I printed it last year. So it's going to be together 4,369. That's going to come out, calculate the gematria. 4,369. Now take this pasuk in Chumash that we're speaking about. The whole pasuk out written in the Torah. Ve'esu elef u'sheva ha'meyos v'chamisha v'shivim osa v'ovim lu amudim v'tzipor rosheim v'chishak oisom, and you calculate this pasuk, it's exactly 4,369. So the aleph base b'melioi is the same numeral gematria like this whole pasuk. And in this pasuk, it says also what he did. With the 1,775 shkolim, also he made vovim lu amudim, v'tzipor Hashem, v'chishak oisom. So both kashas fall away. First, you only calculate the chov base oisius, and second, you have over here, so the chov base oisius b'melioi shown into Moshe Rabbeinu, they shined into his mind this whole pasuk, because the aleph base b'melioi is begematria this whole pasuk vesu elef v'sheva ha'meyos v'chamishu v'shivim also vovim la'amidim v'tzipur Hashem v'chishak oisom, and that was how Moshe Rabbeinu came to know exactly, remind himself what he did with this shkolim, because the aleph base b'melioi is begematria this whole pasuk. We see over here in this week's parsha that every time, after whatever they did, the Chacham Levi says they did it. Ka'ash tzivu Hashem es Moshe. Ka'ash tzivu Hashem es Moshe. Ka'ash tzivu Hashem es Moshe. Why? So the Balaturim in the end of the parsha, he says that the reason why it's written on every zach, Ka'ash tzivu Hashem es Moshe, because Moshe Rabbeinu told Hashem, when he asked for kapora, for forgiveness on the Chet to Eigel, Moshe Rabbeinu tells Hashem, if you don't want to forgive them, that means erase my name from your Sefer Torah. Now the Mishka was a kapora on the Chet to Eigel, that Hashem did forgive them on the Chet to Eigel. So if Hashem forgives them, it's no mecheninu, no erasing Moshe Rabbeinu, just the opposite. He's being mentioned more and more. The pasuk reminds and is being masked, and he's like saying the name of Moshe Rabbeinu more and more. That's the opposite of the mecheninu. Now he's being reminded and he's being told more and more. Now the Balatirim goes on and he explains that if you're going to count how many times it says in this parsha, Ka'ash tzivu Hashem es Moshe, it's written 18 times. 18 It's against the Yitches brachas of the Shemona Esrei. The 18 times Ka'ash Tzivu Hashem Es Moshe refers to the 18 brachas of the Shemona Esrei. It refers to the 18 brachas of the Shemona Esrei. That's how the Balatirim explains. And the truth is, it's a Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi Masech the brachas, Peirik Dalet, Peirik Tfilas HaShachar, Alucha Gimel, Mishnah Gimel. The Yerushalmi brings down, where's the Mekor of 18 brachas? A few man the Omrim, and one of them is Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, and he says the reason why we say 18 brachas by every Shemona Esrei, it's against that 18 times that it says in Parashat Pekudei, Kasha Tziva Hashem Es Moshe. Meaning to say, because the Mishkan, the Avodah was in the Mishkan, all the Avodah HaKarbonos was in the Mishkan, and our Tefillah is B'Mokem HaKarbonos. When we daven, it's B'Mokem HaKarbonos. So if by the Mishkan it was 18 times says, Ka'asha Tzivu Hashem Es Moshe, Ka'asha Tzivu Hashem Es Moshe. So when we daven Shemona Esrei, that's B'Mokem Karbonos, we daven 18 brachas. Against the 18 times Ka'asha Tzivu Hashem Es Moshe. Now the Orach Chaim HaKudosh, in the beginning of the Parsha, when it says Ka'asha Tzivu Hashem Es Moshe, one of the times, the Orach Chaim HaKudosh has a few pshatim. Audience here he quotes one pshat, he says like this. Shoyu oimrim b'shas ha'maluche, harei uni oisim dovar zeh ka'asha tziva Hashem es Moshe. The Pasuk mentions it by every specific thing, telling us that when the oise ha'maluche, the chachmei leiv, did the maluche, whatever they did, they made the Ahron that said, all right, we are doing now the Ahron for the Mishkan ka'asha tziva Hashem es Moshe. When they did the menorah, whatever they did, they said with their mouth, we are doing it Kasha Tziva Hashem Es Moshe. Oh, like now we are doing, you say by the matzah, L'shem matzah's mitzvah. Well, it's not only by matzah, whatever we do. The Mishnah Brida brings down that when you go even to buy on Erev Shabbos, you should say L'kovat Shabbos Kodesh. Why? Because by saying, you're bringing a Kedusha. Hadibir poel harbe b'Kedusha. The Dibur has a gewaldige Ashpua. It has an effect. It's poel harbe to bring Kedusha. And that's why by Hasidim, before every mitzvah, we say L'shem Yichid, and we say that before we put on tefillin, we're going to be Mekayim the mitzvah, V'kshartem oisam lo yisal yotcho, elo tetofes bein anecho. Before we go learning, we say we're being Mekayim the mitzvah, V'dibarto bom, V'lemadatem oisam, V'shmartem lasoisam. You learn with your child, V'lemadatem oisam ez beneichem, V'shinantom levanecho. If you say with your mouth, with your peh, the mitzvah that you're going to do, it has a gewaldige ashpur, and even more than that. Tzaddikim said that sometimes it helps you even much, this idea that the Satan and the Mekatrigim shouldn't be able to grab away the mitzvah. Why? Because you call out in the beginning, I'm now doing this mitzvah, I want to serve Hashem, I want to bring him a present, a matana, so they can't come in and try to take it away. And they use this pasuk, I think it's the Rebbe of Reb Shia from Belz, he uses this pasuk, Rochash libi dovar toiv. If I have a rochash libi, I have a thought in my heart, rachshei alev, dovar toiv, I want to do a good deed. Oimer oni, I say with my mouth, maasai lamelech, I'm now doing a maise to bring an achasliach for Hashem, and in that case, the all others can't have a ashpur, they can't try to take it away, because I cry out and I say, Oimer oni maasai lamelech, rochash libi dovar toiv. Now this week is Parshas HaChodesh. We're going to read the Pasuk HaChodesh Azalechem Rosh Chodashim. And on Sunday we're starting Chodesh Nisan. We say in the Payet of Shabbos HaChodesh, Hinam Yomim HaMeverochim. The days of Chodesh Nisan are coming. They are blessed days. Yomim HaMeverochim, blessed. It's full of bracha, those days. And it's take. You could accomplish very much in the days of Chodesh Nisan. There's a tshuva of the Avnei Nezer that he writes back at tshuva and he says, those days of Nisan, it's so choshev, it's so, how do you say it? You have to cherish every minute of Chodesh Nisan. He says a lashon, shol leyoyb yechoshev. Every hour is like a day. An hour of Chodesh Nisan is like a day. So sometimes the Chodesh Nisan, the person usually says, all right, if I have a half an hour to learn, that's good. If I only have 5 minutes, but a Chodesh Nisan you have to cherish every 5 minutes. Shol leyoyb yechoshev. An hour is like a day. That's what Avnei Nezer says. Now, even more than that, there's a Chasam Sofer in Parshas Boy, and the Pasuk HaChodesh Azalechem, The Chassam Sofer explains that on Chodesh Nisan, every day is like a month. Not an hour like a day. He says a day is like a month. And the truth is that the Agri Dekale, in this week's Parsha, it brings down, there's a passage that when Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu he should be making the Mishkan, Arish Chodesh Nisan, it should be the Akom of the Mishkan. It says like this. Hashem tells to Moshe Rabbeinu, how does it say in Pasuk? Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, B'yoyim ha-chodesh ha-rishon, be'echad la-chodesh, tokem es Mishkan oil moyed. The day of the Chodesh or Rishon, be'echad la-chodesh, you should be tukim. How do you say tukim in English? You build it up, you're being makim, you're standing it up. Not standing up, the hakoma. You should, all right, tukim as a mishkan. Tukim as mishkan oil moed. When? Be'yoyim ha-chodesh or Rishon, be'echad la-chodesh. So the Agdekala asks the Bnei Yisachar, why do you say be'yoyim ha-chodesh or Rishon, be'echad la-chodesh? It should say ba'chodesh or Rishon, be'echad la-chodesh. He says, no, the first day of Nisan is like the whole Chodesh. B'yoyim, it's this day that's a Chodesh Rishon. It refers to the whole Chodesh. Aleph Nisan is against the whole Chodesh Nisan. Beis Nisan is against Chodesh Iyar. Gimel is against Chodesh Sivan. B'yoyim ha-Chodesh Rishon, the day that includes in it the whole Chodesh Rishon. So the Chassam Sofer goes and he says, every day of Chodesh Nisan is like a month. So in that case, 30 days of Nisan is like 30 months. So it's like 2.5 years. Chodesh Nisan is like 2.5 years. So he goes on and he explains there's a Gemara in Masechta Eiruvin. The Gemara brings down that Beshama and Basil had a machlokes. If Noach leila Adam shenivra, rather than not, or Noach leila Adam, it would be rather shaloi nivra yoyse mishenivra. A machlokes the Gemara between Beshama and Basil. And the Gemara says that this machlokes went on for 2.5 years. Shtei Shalem and Mechze, they were debating Beshama and Basil. If it's rather a person should be created or rather it shouldn't be created. And the idea was, in the end of the day, is he going to end up on the good side doing more mitzvahs than Averas, or Chaz v'Shalom the opposite? Did it pay that he should be? Or it didn't, if it's Noach loy. So the Chassam Sofer says, the whole machlokes was a Chodesh Nisan. During the year, for sure, it's Noach loy Adam Yoyser, that it shouldn't be created, because it's a hard avoid to fight the Yetzer Hara. And you should go through the Olam Hazeh winning the Yetzer Hara. It's not so easy. But when it comes to Chodesh Nisan, that's so full of mitzvahs. It's so full of Emuna b'Hashem, so full of Ahavas Hashem. And when you prepare to Yom Tov Pesach, every little bit, we spoke before, you have to say out with your mouth. When you clean for Pesach, you say, I'm being mekam now the mitzvah of Tashbis Yisrael b'Betechem. Lo yarah lecha chometz. Every little bit that you do, you're being mekayim mitzvahs eseh, mitzvahs lois eseh. It brings on the person so much kedusha. It helps him to be clean also from the soil shebeiseh, from the Yetzer Hara that he has, that he has in himself. That's the real bir chometz that he has to make. So in such a case, a Chodesh Nisan is so full, it's so much blessed days, that in those days, you could say, Noach leila Adam, rather he should be created. So that's the pshat, 2.5 years they were debating. It refers to Chodesh Nisan, that every day is like a month, and those 2.5 years, so we have to know it's, how do you call it? It's very quality time. The time of Chodesh Nisan. So we have to be machshiv and be marich every little bit, whatever you do, when you help at home, whatever you do, hachonas to the Yom Tov Pesach, Hashem should know that we should be zoicher. This year is Shabbos Erev Pesach. So the Ateres Yeshi, I think, from Jikiv, he says, Shabbos Erev Pesach and Rosh Hashanah Shefa. Shabbos Erev Pesach, because a big Shefa comes down a year that Shabbos Erev Pesach. But we have to see, Bezrat Hashem, that the Shefa should come down before Shabbos Erev Pesach. Because we need it already before, then it's too late to go to grocery. You have to be there before the Shefa. But even if a person didn't get the Shefa before, he could buy a credit card, and the Shefa is going to come and it's going to be covered, Bezrat Hashem. The Ikir is, Hashem should give us all good Shefa and all Ashpuas Toivis, and I give and Stuart Shabbos.